Latinos Out Loud podcast. Yeah, that's what this is. Latinos Out Loud.
Yo, 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 yeah. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath. Breath. It's
That's
Latinos Out Loud. Hi. Yeah, this is it. Again, we're here.
We
the
are
airwaves.
here 3 times a week. Are you
What do you
tired
think
of
of
us yet?
that,
Are you
right?
tired of us yet?
Todavía.
What do you guys think of that? 3 times a week,
Oh
3
my
times the
goodness.
charm,
Love it.
right?
It's a lot.
3 is
It's
a
lot of
good
us.
number. It's a lot of us, but there's 3 of us. Now there's 3 episodes. The number 3 is coming up a lot, people.
Wow, Rachel,
Mhm.
3 and 3. I like that.
Mm-mm. Okay, hi. So I am Rachel La Loca. That's who
Hey.
I am.
What's up? I'm Jay Ferns.
Oh yeah,
What's
that's
going
right.
on, yo? It's Frank Nibs, aka Frank Spiracy.
Ooh, Frankspiracy in the streets.
You know what I'm saying? Overlooking the city always.
Wow, drone behind him at all times.
He's back.
All day, all night.
Hi. Well, how are you guys? That's what I want to start with. Hi, how are you? How's it
I'm
going?
good, Rachel. I
Every-
can't complain.
I can't complain. I can't complain.
You look great. You look
Yeah,
good.
everybody looks good in the Zoom. Everybody has
Yeah.
the good filters on.
Yeah, I got my filter on.
Yeah, you got that Barbara Streisand where like anytime she has an interview, it's like touched up times 100.
Right.
Everything is
Yeah.
like
Well, I hope one day to aspire to Barbara status because she's
Well,
like butter. You know.
you
Like
are
butter.
a funny girl. You are a funny girl like her. So
And hello, Jewish connection. Jewish connection. Yeah. So, all right, here we are. There's a lot going on. Jamie, we need to celebrate Jamie.
Word.
Can we celebrate
Jamie's
Jamie
gonna
one
start
time?
getting touched up too. He going, yes.
Jamie.
Come
What
on,
up, what
son.
up?
What's going on? Holla at us, bro. Talk to us, bro.
Well, there is some news.
Yo, that's not some news. It's some serious news. Yo.
Well,
It's not news, it's noticias.
It's noticia. This is what you should be able to do a bochinche bite on this.
Right. Noticiero,
well, look, I mean,
LOL.
it was just news, but then it hit Variety, and it was like, oh, okay, Variety, magazine.
Caliente.
When it hits Variety, you're like, all right, I gotta post this, right?
No, when
but
Jamie posts something, it's a serious matter.
No, there was some cool news. A project I've been working on for a while. It's an Audible comedy podcast series. That's a mouthful. But it's from Broadway Video. They're producing it, and it's gonna be on Audible. And I am co-creator, co-writer, co-director, co-executive producer, all that, and so it's a project that we been creating. I started creating it with this very talented Dominican couple, a producing couple that I met because the husband Guillermo's gonna hate me because his last name is hard to pronounce.
Yeah, don't mess it up.
Guillermo
man.
Zuain.
One shot deal.
Guillermo Zuain, right? And I met him on when we did actually also for Broadway Video, Room 28.
Wow, back then.
Did Latino Vortex. Yeah.
Wow.
With Oz Rodriguez, and Guillermo was behind. He was doing he was just doing behind the scenes stuff. He was part of the production team. And we were cool during the shoot, and then he just came up to me, was like, yo, bro, like, I have an idea. Me and my wife. So it's Guillermo and his wife, Wendy Muniz.
I love that so much. Husband and wife. Love it.
And they had, they have history with their parents were therapists. So they wanted to do a show about a Dominican therapist. And they were like, can you write a pilot? We developed it together, the story. I wrote a lot of pilots, a lot of drafts. And it went from trying to pitch it to like a TV series, and now it ended up, through the power of whatever connections ended up seeing it, as a comedy podcast for Audible, produced by Broadway Video. This is where we're at now. We wrote 9 episodes. So yeah, we worked with Ashley Soto Paniagua, she came on, and it was all 4 of us. We wrote a 9-episode season,
Wow.
and it's coming out. It should be coming out in October next year.
Oh,
I mean, not October.
shit.
What I'm saying, February of next year.
Oh shit.
Alright.
February 2023 is
Alright.
when, and it's called Michelle Rojas is Not Okay.
Ah.
So
Wow.
amazing.
It's about Michelle Rojas is a therapist, and she opens up a practice in Washington Heights. So we bring in the story to the Heights, baby.
Oh snap!
We bring it to the
So
Heights.
great.
So it's great. It was great being able to work with all those people, and it kind of was like it was like my first real legit. It felt like a legit like TV show, right? You know, I felt like I was in a writer's room for a TV show. So it was like a legit writer's room. And
Wow.
so yeah, very excited to get the opportunity. And again, it was a labor of love because it was a script that we started a long time ago, and then it kind of evolved into a whole series, and so now it's its own thing. And so yeah, so looking forward to that.
Really super dope. I cannot wait for it to come out. We're gonna completely celebrate it. Let's keep on celebrating from now till then and beyond. We're also
Facts.
celebrating the arts. You know, I went to go
Mhm.
check out a really good show the other day, Our Man in Santiago.
Yeah, you told me. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, man. How was
I
it?
know it was great. You guys have got to check it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Sometimes
check
we
it
can't
out.
all coordinate together, but
You
that's
haven't stopped
okay.
You haven't stopped talking about it. You have not
Because
stopped.
it really has both of your names written all over it. Like Frank's name from this like conspiracy angle about
Oh, I'm gonna see it. Forget
CIA's
about
involvement in the death of a president from Chile
it. Ooh.
back in the day. It takes place in the 60s. And then from Jamie's POV, the writing in this piece is really, really good. It's
Mm.
adventurous. There's characters that pop out that we know from history, and the impressions are spot on. I'm trying not to give away too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there
Ooh.
is a former president that keeps making an appearance in the show, and he looks and sounds just like him.
And the writer, yeah, the writer's done a lot of TV, like Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, Good Girls, Charmed. So Mark Wilding.
Yes.
And so yeah, that's something that I definitely want to watch.
Well, so we had the pleasure of interviewing the lead actress in the show. Presciliana Esparolini plays Maria Troncoso in the show. And I got to meet her before the show. I'm sorry, after the show. Before the show, I was kicking in with her publicist. And it was a really great experience. The theater is not huge, so it's not one of those theaters where you're like,
Right,
one of
right.
1,000. Everybody in there was going through this like play out of a crime, true crime status in front of our eyes, and the usage of props and really efficient and impactful set design. You're on a small stage, but it's really remarkable what you could do with efficient and wise set design.
Mhm.
So I appreciated that, the lighting, sound. It was immersive. It was really great. So I would love to get into this interview with Oh my God, here I am. My tongue is just getting tired. Presciliana. Presciliana, such a
Liana.
precious name. I don't want to mess it up. So let's get into this interview, you guys.
Wow, she has such a beautiful name. Let's do it.
Gorgeous, gorgeous,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Good
to see you.
Oh, it's so good to see you too. Thank you for coming to the show.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me. It was really, really spectacular.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I thought you were really stellar.
Oh.
And just like quite the pro, girl. Really quite the pro.
Thank you. I work hard. I do my best, That's all I could do.
It's evident. It shows. And really the theater, everything, we could talk about it, but I really thought the stage was so great, and like so much happens on that stage, which is really not grand in scale, but
No.
you guys made it feel enormous. You guys, you hear her beautiful voice. I got to see the voice on stage, but please, Latinos out loud, LOLeros, put your hands together for Presciliana Esparolini.
Gracias.
Yeah.
Gracias.
I have to
Mil
say,
gracias.
Yeah.
your name is so lovely.
Oh,
Mm.
thank
It
you.
really-
It takes
isn't
up.
Lots
It
of
I mean,
vowels.
I think honestly, I actually didn't fully learn how to spell my name till like high school. Like it's so it is, because not only there's a Teresa in the middle of that, so it's like
Damn.
it's long.
Are there?
And go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do casting directors get nervous like pronouncing
Oh,
it?
they're like Priscilla. Yeah, I just say press. Press is fine.
Just your initials, you know. Yeah.
Well, it is really, really lovely to have you on Latinos Out Loud. My goodness, you are working right now. You're in a production that I got to see, and we're gonna talk about it. I also want to talk about your background. We want to learn about Presciliana, and I definitely want to learn about your name. Okay,
Oh.
so but let's talk about our man in Santiago.
Okay. Well, first of all, I have to say thank you, LOL, for inviting me on your podcast. It's such an honor, and I have to say that what you're doing for the community in pushing our work forward, whether it be highlighting actors or folks like you performers and theater goers as yourselves, and then having people who aren't necessarily recognized in what they do politically for community, just activists as well. Like you guys really bring the full gamut into your podcast, and it's really lovely to see that and to hear about it. So I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, PE.
Yes, that's right. Public enemy number one.
That really was beautiful and very touching. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for taking the time out to say that. Thank you.
No, I mean it. And we got to keep going, and we have to keep pushing our voices forward and letting people know that we're here. We've been here. I just did a show in LA called the play you won. It was like by Bernardo Rubia, and he joked it was a satire, but poking a fun at the idea that like we've been around for a long time. We've been doing theater for hundreds and hundreds of years, but nobody seems to want to recognize our voice. And so I just want to commend you for to keep pushing our voice forward, and to let people know that we're out here, that we're creative and we're strong and we're intelligent, and we're part of the community. So, but to go back really quickly, I'll tell you a little bit about my name because it is so long. Presciliana is my grandmother's name. So I was named after my grandmother. When I was born, my grandmother was undergoing a triple bypass. And of course, my mom thought she was gonna like totally kick the can, but she made it. And so because of that, I was named after my grandma. And then my last name is Esparolini. My father is Puerto Rican and Italian, and he was born in Santurce, Puerto Rico. And so his father is Italian, my grandmother, Puerto Rican. So that's where that last name comes from.
Esparolini. And it does, now that you say that, it does seem like a fusion.
Yes, it's definitely a fusion for sure.
Nice.
But the play, to just kind of let you know how it spawned, the idea for Mark Wilding, our playwright, I guess like 40 years ago, he read an article by Gabriel Marquez about the CIA's attempt to go down to South America to overthrow Allende with the help with a coup and the help of Pinochet. And so he's kept that article up until this day. And I think that was written over 40 years ago. And at the time, he's like, I'm going to keep this because I think someday I want to write about it. And so the play is a dark comedy on the CIA's attempt to overthrow Allende. And there's a lot of fun turns that take place. And I remembered our first weekend, a woman came up to me and she said, thank you. And I was like, I was taken aback. I wasn't sure what she meant. And I said, I'm sorry, what do you mean? She goes, you have no idea what you've done for us. We've been so hungry for art for the last 2 years. And the fact that you guys were courageous enough to get back out there, because I think we were one of the first shows to open up in LA, because we already had the set, we were ready to go. And we had been rehearsing on Zoom throughout the year and a half and getting together when we could. And I didn't know what kind of impact we were going to have just with opening up that space again for the community to return and just get fed with art. And so that was very lovely to do. And then now coming here, you know, this is New York, this is the big leagues, you know, I know what this is, you know, and I was like, oh, we're going to New York. Okay. This is an LA production. I don't know. Is it going to be welcomed? Is it going to be accepted? Because, you know, there's that East Coast, West Coast thing that can sometimes happen. But
that hardcore East Coast, West Coast theater beef in the 90s.
It gets like Biggie and Tupac like that.
That's right. That's
On a theatrical level.
It was Biggie and Tupac in the theater though.
That's right.
So less like knives, more like dance fighting.
Exactly.
You know, like
a little more West Side Story kind of thing.
You were saying that people were hungry for theater, right? And I think like why something like this would be successful in anywhere, both coasts, middle, whatever, is that Latinos are hungry for Latino stories, right? And so this is another aspect to this that we want to see stories like this, like and the fact that you can do this on stage, and you know the way things are greenlit in like TV and movies, you never know, but the fact that we have the stage and the theater to see stories like this with great actors, you know, doing these roles, I think is something that that we miss, but we also we've also missed even when there wasn't a pandemic. Like we wanted
That's
stuff
right.
like this.
Well, and I think too, you know, sometimes the history books don't have it right, you know, and we need to tell the truth. And though we're poking fun of the situation and it is a dark comedy, there's some truth to it. You know, there is some truth to the fact that America seems to feel as though they are responsible for going into other countries to quote unquote make them better, you know, and I think they're, you know, as we can see in our history, that's not necessarily the case, you know, but I hope we'll get to a point as a country where we'll learn our lesson and realize that we got to let countries be what they want to be and stop trying to imprint our ideas and our ideology on other countries.
Frank, I mean, Frank's absorbing these messages, our resident conspiracy theorist.
Oh, that's right. I heard about you, Frank.
I told her all about you, Frank. I'm like,
oh my God.
Frank hears any conspiracies like, I heard about that. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then he'll go off on about
it. Presciliana, I want to know, what conspiracy did you hear about Pinochet by doing this play that you were shocked with?
Well, I mean, so my family, my mother and my sister, they were activists. They walked with Cesar Chavez. My sister went down to Guatemala to work, you know, to fight in the guerrilla warfare. Like they were tough, you know. And so I learned I could hear it as a child. You know, I didn't grow up with a TV, and I mean, the TV wasn't in our household till like I was in high school. So I didn't watch a lot of it on the news or media, but I heard about it in the home. And so what I heard as a child was that he was our puppet, you know, and that we used him to overthrow. Again, is that true? I don't know, but it's what I've heard. Yeah,
I'll have to look into it. We'll have another. We'll have a Frank conspiracy on it.
Exactly, I'm all about the Frank conspiracies.
Yeah.
Were there any specific changes bringing the show from LA to New York that you had to make?
Yes, I think Mark did a significant amount of work on the play just based on feedback that he got in LA. He did make some minor adjustments. The plot overall stayed the same, but there were some line changes. There were some comedic moments that he wanted to really bump up a little bit more. And he's continuing to rework it. I think he's also really paying attention to the New York audience and seeing what they're reacting to and not reacting to. And so I think he's making because I think he wants to get the play published at some point, if that happens. And with that, he's making cuts and edits as we go.
I will tell you something as an audience member that I received, if I may call out, by you playing Maria Troncoso. As soon as you walked out, you did something so slick that I was like, oh, I already see what her character's gonna be like. Okay, again, I'm not gonna spoil it,
Okay.
if you want to say something about that split second moment that totally establishes this is a Latina who's brilliant, smart, and is going to outsmart these fools.
Yeah.
Like,
That, you know, I have a thing. I mean, obviously, when I was starting out as an actor many, many years ago, I basically took anything that was offered to me. If it said I was an immigrant crossing the border, or, you know, or if I was, you know, a blue collar, or if I had to play a maid, I took it. But then there was a point where I made a choice, just for me ethically, that I no longer wanted to play a maid. I no longer wanted, I want the roles to be of intelligent Latina women who are doctors or attorneys or political, you know, anything out politically out in the world, because that's how I want to be seen. And when this play came up, I was like, damn, another maid? And I was like, no. But then as I read, I was like, oh, no, 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 no. And I don't want to give it away for you guys, but she comes across as somebody who doesn't speak English very well. She comes across as somebody who doesn't understand what's being spoken to her. But what ends up happening is she is actually working as an attaché to one of the CIA agents.
Ooh.
And as that turn happens in the end of the first act, where I'm starting to hear, when that's revealed, I'm starting to hear the audience go, ooh. So because of that, because she's actually a survivor, she's very smart, and she knows exactly what she's doing and what she has to do in order to survive in this world that she grew up in. That's why I've enjoyed playing her. And that is why I took on playing a quote unquote maid, you know, at the top of the show. But it's because she has this reveal. She's not who she says she is at the beginning.
yeah, she's more of a mastermind maid than like a maid. She's got like levels. And
Yeah,
I
she's
swear you
always
guys-
thinking, and she's ahead of the CIA agent that she's working with. She's ahead. It's a chess move. Everything's a chess move for her. And she's like, wait a minute. If he's doing this, I got to do this. She steps ahead of him because
It's
he's not
subverting.
thinking all the way through, huh?
It's subverting like what, you know,
Yeah,
kind of a stereotypical like role, maid
Exactly.
role, right? And
You're
that's
right.
great. That's
Right.
awesome.
right.
You guys must see it.
Yeah, you got to come.
Yes.
Presciliana,
Yes.
talking about acting, I was snooping on your IG page.
Okay.
Snooping?
And, snooping, yeah, I was snooping all up on her page today. And I saw a quote that like hit me, and I'm gonna tell you why it hit me 2 times. It hit me because it meant a lot to me, and I'm gonna say it right now. It says, when you do the work, you're no longer acting, you're just being human, and that hit me. But I want to know, what's the work you do to be the actress that you are?
Yes. So, well, thank you. Yes. So I started acting at a very, when in high school. I did the play in high school, and then went to college, and then I realized that I wanted to continue the work. So I went off to study at ACT, and, you know, learned different genres of acting styles, you know, Strasberg, Stella Adler, you know, all of it, right? So I learned quite a bit. And then I came to New York, and I'll tell you guys about a little bit of that story a little bit later. Came to New York after I did a play at the La Jolla Playhouse. From grad school, went to La Jolla, and then I came over here. Then I went to LA, and I immediately started working with master teacher Deb Aquila, and she studied under Stella Adler here in New York. And so the whole idea for Deb is, and for the Stella Adler students that studied under Stella, was to branch out and go build your own studio. You know, you've learned from Stella, now go out and teach teach actors what the work is really about.
Mm.
And for Stella, it was all about backstory. You know, her, just like you, Frank, and just like you, Jamie, and Rachel, we all have we grew up with families, or maybe we didn't, you know, but we have particular foods that we like to eat. We have particular ways of how we like to get dressed in the morning. We have our routines. We have our relationships with our parents and or brothers and sisters. And so I think a lot of the times what happens is younger actors just think, oh, just read the lines. But there's so much underneath that.
Layers and layers.
There's layers, there's history there because of how we were raised. And so we really how I study and how I work is when I get a character to audition, I go through it like a detective. I don't even learn my lines. I read this. If I get the script, if I'm lucky to have the script, I'll read it a couple times, do my detective work, see what I can find. But then I start building who this person is. How was she raised? Was there abuse? Was there not abuse? Was she, you know, were they rich? What were did she have a religious background? Was there alcohol in the family? You know, I look at all of that because we as human beings experience those things, right?
Yeah.
We have moments in our lives every day. And so I was telling, the best way I can describe it is, and this is kind of funny and not to give away too much of my personal life, but
We want to hear it.
We want that tea. We want that tea. Come on.
Spill it, please.
Feel it.
Go ahead.
So
Everybody
I
be
was
quiet.
I was talking with a really good friend of mine, an actor friend of mine, and he goes, so hey, are you dating? You know, we're just having conversations, just like me and you talking, you know, and he goes, hey, so are you seeing anyone? I'm like, God, no. Right? Now, if you saw that in a script, it would just be, actor one would say, are you dating? Actor two would respond, God, no. Right? But because of my experience, or because I just had a breakup, or because I had 10 really bad dates that I'm like now not dating, you know, there's a history and just God, no. And so that to me is the work. And so when you build that foundation in your work, you have a freedom to play because all of that's already built in. You're ready to go. And so when you get to set or when you get on stage, your backstory's there, your work has been done. So if another actor comes at me with something, I can respond with what that person is giving me, just the way we are out in the world, right?
Wow.
And so you have that freedom to leap and play organically, but you have to do the work first. And then that's when you become a human being, not an actor reading lines.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
So well
we got a
said.
little lesson. We got some lessons up in
Oh, I got a little acting lesson
You're
up
gonna
in
have to
there.
charge. You're gonna have to
Claps
charge.
and
You can say
claps.
any more.
No.
Yeah.
You guys can send your methods of payment to Latinos Out Loud,
Exactly.
P.O. Box 555 or COD. We still accept cash on delivery.
You
That's
go-
right.
Well,
Now, real
go
quick,
ahead.
on just a
Yeah.
side to that, have you ever dealt with a writer or a director that had their own backstories for characters
Yes,
that were like,
and-
this is the backstory I wrote, it's just for you?
Yes.
And do
yeah.
you, how do you feel about that?
Sometimes, okay, well, sometimes,
Wow.
and this is what because I teach in LA, and that's what I encourage my actors to build autonomy, right? You have to do the work in order to have a collaborative conversation with your director or your writer. If I hear stories, and I'm not one of them, but I've heard stories where actors like, I don't think my character would say it like that, right?
Wow,
And the
I've heard
writer would come up and say, well, or the director would come up and it's like, well, no, that's actually how it's supposed to be said, you know? And so I always kind of laugh at that because to me, I think the more collaborative approach is to say, okay, if there's something that's maybe not in line with what the writer or what the director have in mind, I always approach it in a way that's like, hey, so I was thinking, I don't know, am I off base here? But I was thinking this, could I try it? And a lot of the time, the director or the writer, even though they may have it locked in, they will say, yeah, go ahead and try, especially if they're a collaborative. Sometimes there's not enough time. It's a TV show, especially they want to move. But sometimes you'll get that director who does want to work with you and will collaborate in such a way that it's like, all right, I don't know if I see it that way, but let me see what you're about to bring to the table. And they'll let you do a take, or they'll let you, like with Charlie Mount, our director for Our Man. I've asked a lot of questions, and I don't come across confrontational. It's like, no, but wait, I know you're thinking this, but can I try this, because this is what I'm thinking. He's like, all right, let me see it. And he's like, oh, I didn't think about it. So you try, and it's not to be combative. It's not to be a diva. It's not to be it's just to have a collaborative conversation. But you have to do the work first, right? You have to come with that, with what that history or the research that you've done. You've got to bring that to the table. So it's not just me wanting to like arbitrarily try something. It's like, no, it's based on what I found in the text later on that I think this is going on.
I see your strength. I'm really obsessed with it. Just given how you're navigating this life in show business as a Latina, you kind of said it before, you called yourself out at a moment, you pivoted, you shifted, which I think is so lovely. Thank you for sharing that with us too. That was courageous to share with us. What are some words of advice that you have for the future Prescilianas out there? What would you say?
It is, I see it in LA quite a bit. I think there's this idea out in the world that if you just go to LA or you just go to New York, you're going to become a star. And I think a lot of us do. We do come into this world bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We're ready. We're willing to do what it takes. But then there's this, I read this or listened to this interview recently, and the actor will come to me. But I hear it in LA, especially, where actors will come into the studio and they'll say, oh, yeah, I'm going to give this about a year. I have a 2-year timeline. And if I don't make it, to celebrity, then I'm out. And it's like, I'm sorry. This is a lifetime craft. This is something you invest in your entire life. And the older you get, the better you get, because you have all this history that you've lived. And it's not about celebrity. It's about, again, if you want to do the work, because I see it all the time. They'll come in, they haven't read the script. And I've coached some actors too, where they haven't read. I'm like, have you read the script? Nah, I didn't have time today. I'm like, okay. So I'll just be helping you memorize your lines right now. It's just like, it's like, let's get down and do the work. And that is your longevity, because people will see it. Directors will see it. Teachers will see it. Your fellow actors on stage, the audience will know if you've done the work or if you haven't done the work. They may not know what it is, but they'll be like, something, I don't know, that there's this actor was doing something really interesting, and this actor, like you can tell. And the real directors out there, the real artists out there, they want to see that you've done the work, and that you love what you do, and that you're passionate about what you do, and that this isn't just a little temporary moment, that if you're invested in this, it's for life, and they'll appreciate that. You have to stick with it, and you have to do the work, because that is your longevity in this world, and in this world of entertainment. It took me 20 years to get a recurring guest star. I mean, I've had pilots before, and I've tested and all of those wonderful things, but it took 20 years for me to be now recurring on a television show.
Wow.
Well, I'm just clapping for you right now, because you did it. You persevered.
Wow.
You've been winning, but now it's really nice to celebrate that, isn't it?
It is. And thank you for having me. This is such a treat. I think this is one of my first interviews. So I'm like,
You're so wonderful.
Yo,
Please,
you got deep. You got deep.
Everybody stop your cars and do your theatrical bow and clap it up one more time for Presciliana Esparolini.
Yeah.
Yep.
Take your bow, everyone. Take your
Yeah.
Oh, you
Take your
guys are so
bow.
great. You guys
and
are so great.
encore, really.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I can't wait for you guys to see Our Man in Santiago. If you're in New York, please check it out. Go to the website, ourmaninsantiago.com. The
That's right.
tickets are really affordable. It's a lovely theater and it's immersive, boy. You're right there and things are sliding. You're like, wait, what? It was so well done. You get to see our girl perform. So go
And this is
catch
performing
her.
through October, right?
Yes, so we're at the AMT Theater on 354 West 45th, and we opened on the 16th of September, but we're running all the way through October 28th.
Great. Nice.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right.
Yes.
You got
thank-
time, people. No
Yeah.
excuses.
Get your booties in the seats.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's fill it up.
And the
Let's go.
seats were comfortable, by the way. My booty
Yeah.
felt real nice in those
Good.
seats. Yeah.
Brand new renovated theater, new
Beautiful.
seats, new
Yeah.
sound. It's beautiful.
Wow.
Really
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah.
All right, yo, thank you so much, Presciliana,
Gracias.
amiga. You
Yes.
are now en nuestra casa, tu casa. Ya tú sabes.
Thank you.
And shout out to
Thanks.
Lucy. Shout out to
Thank-
Lucy doing the work.
That's right. That's right, Lucy.
Right.
Thank you. And Frank and Jamie, let me know. I'll see you guys there.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
hang
I'll be in
out
that
after.
piece. I'll be
It's
in
a
there.
lot
I'll
of
be-
time. I'm gonna find a day and go. I
Good.
want to definitely
Good,
go.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
mija.
guys.
Cuídate and enjoy.
Wow, guys. This lady dropped some serious jewels and diamonds on us in terms of
That's a
acting world.
masterclass. That's some masterclass stuff
Wow.
right there. You know, I was taking notes.
Layers on layers, yo.
Very smart,
Holy
right? A brilliant, brilliant Latina. I'm so happy to have met her and seen her live. Her brilliance in this interview, I hope, is a clear depiction of what her brilliance is like on stage.
Yeah.
Because
Mm.
really on stage, like I said, she's a pro. And it's so
Yeah.
Rachel, wait a
natural.
minute.
And she's
does-
like,
she does everything. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jamie. She does film, TV,
Yeah.
and theater.
like
Mhm.
she's
Come
a real working actress. Like you see her IMDb, and she's doing everything from the Mayans show on
Wow.
FX,
NCIS,
NCIS,
Ray Donovan.
Ray Donovan. She
Wow.
was in that movie Cherry, and she takes the craft seriously. Like she's not, like she was saying, it's not just reading words on a page and then repeating it, right? Like she has intent, she has training,
Yeah.
and so even if it's like a 2-word phrase, like there's so much craft
Yeah.
that goes into that.
Well, thank you to Presciliana, and go check out Our Man in Santiago and ourmaninsantiago.com. You can also peep the show notes of this episode for some more information on it. And yeah, guys, this was so much fun.
Wow.
We
Let's
did it.
Viva Showbiz. Hooray for Hollywood.
Viva Showbiz. I like that, Rachel.
Yeah, on that note, we out.